Just one more question. A random one. Not based on this contract.
Sure.
So based on, say, not the normal Australian standard ones. If a subcontractor just calls in and say, "Oh, my crew has COVID," that automatically push the whole project out of the way, isn't it? For this current climate.
Yeah. Well, that's right. That's right.
Is there anything that the head contractor can do?
That's also governed by this stuff. So COVID's had that obvious impact. It's diminished available crews to deliver works. But as you know, it's also had other impacts. It's caused supply disruptions and more general labour market shortages, and it's caused exorbitant inflation of material supplies. I had a case recently. And we'll close on this. I think we've probably got to time. But I had a case recently where my guy was working on a government project just under the head contractor. So it was a second-tier subcontractor or first-tier subcontractor. And the head contractor had a rise and fall clause in its government contract, which wasn't replicated in the subcontract. And in fairness to the head contractor, I don't think that was done by any design to deprive the subcontractor of its entitlement to be paid. I think what was contemplated at the time of contracting was that the project bank account, which was in place to. So if do we know about project bank accounts? So we understand that it's a central repository for all contractor payments all the way down the contracting chain, and it appoints just one head contractor to apportion those payments down the contracting chain on processing of every progress payment or every progress claim, so that you don't rely on the contractor immediately above you in the chain to make that payment. And that's supposed to be a solution against a solution to upstream contractor insolvency, for example, where the banks step in and say, yoink, that's mine. No, it's not. It's protected by the project bank account. Anyway, so I think what was contemplated was that the head contractor would make the price variation claim, and this is how it ties back into COVID. So you've got these exorbitant price increases on common material supplies, on steel and timber and other things. So that would be caught by the rise and fall clause. The head contractor would adjust its contract price under the head contract, and then by virtue of a single progress payment claim on the principal, resulting in one payment that then just gets apportioned down the line, down the chain of contracts by the head contractor, everyone would be paid and we'd all be happy. But the head contractor didn't understand that. They didn't see it that way. So they didn't invoke their rise and fall clause because they weren't the ones who actually forked out the money to pay for these supplies of materials. It was the subcontractor that was actually responsible for delivering those works. So it didn't adjust its contract price, and then it just ran this thing as if nothing had happened. So my guy said, well, my guy tapped the head contractor on the shoulder, and they go, well, what do you want me to do about it? What can I do? There's nothing in your contract that allows me to do anything about it. So they ended up going to the government and saying, I'm being nice here and making an ex gratia payment. So in other words, a government handout. I'd like an ex gratia payment to be made to my subcontractor. And not surprisingly, the government principal just ignored them. Said, why do you need a handout? They should have thought of that when they were budgeting for their works in the first place, when they were tendering for these works. Well, that wasn't the plan. The plan was that the head contractor's trustee would administer the payments on behalf of everybody down the contracting chain. again, they didn't understand their obligations. They approached the government in the wrong way. They don't like lawyers writing to them on letterhead. I understand that. I tried to call a meeting. We never had a meeting, and it comes down to miscommunication and fear and ignorance again. So we come back to trying to create some awareness. I think that answers your question in a roundabout way about the impact of COVID and whether that ties back into this stuff. So the short answer is yes. You know, all the impacts are either all the impacts are either translatable into a scope variation or a price variation, or a delay event, because a disruption is a delay event.